5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And you turned down the whole world's volume, and you smile. I haven't felt away for a while, and anything I ever felt for anyone just disappeared. And you're the kind of girl who makes the decades fly by just like years. I got love for you like no one could. Well, maybe I love you more than I should. I got love for you like no one could.
Welcome to the Satellites Podcast Live, powered by RokitPig Entertainment. Tonight's guest star, David Beth, Bill Kerr, and David Robbins. Here is your host, Jerry G. Angelo.
Mended. Now we're so close, you finish my sentences. Anything that doesn't have to.
Welcome to Satellites. This is our podcast for RokitPig. We have a fun group of individuals that I've had the pleasure to become incredible friends with. We have David Beth, who is a producer, director, writer, and actor. We have Billy Kerr, who is a veteran in the military, and he helped us with an American Warfighter. He helped us with a situation room. So he was a production designer. That was his first credit in film. And then we also have David Robbins, who is a writer, director, and an actor as well. And I want to thank David Paratiaco for singing our song, You're Something Else. His dad loves him very much out there on the East Coast, as we all do. I also want to thank the 11th MEU. I want to thank Commander Baxter for helping us out. After American Warfighter was done, the 11th MEU, the Marines, the expeditionary unit, they helped put together a lot of fundraisers and sponsorships for us to do our screenings. Anyway, with what we're doing here with Satellites is to introduce different people that I have an opportunity to learn from, to experience, to get to know in different situations, all with film and film related and in entertainment. And because I get to deal with so many different people along the way, as artists and creators, we do things with inspiration and wanting to create something that is beautiful for the world. There's all different ways to interpret what that is. We're all different, but we're all the same. And it's important to support each other. And everyone has stories, and different groups have stories. And something that's always been incredibly passionate for me has been our military. I've never served myself, but I've had friends and family that have. I know I've been touched in so many different ways from the different stories. And as a film producer, writer, and actor and director myself, after 19 years in producing films and filmmaking, I had done 11 films, 10 films, 11 films that I produced. It was time for me to do my directorial debut. And out of all the crazy creative stories from all the different genres, I wasn't sure what I wanted to write. And there's that saying that is actually, I believe in, it goes across very well for writers, as if, write what you know, what you're passionate about. And ever since I was a little kid playing G.I. Joes and creating my stories and going to watch Aliens in the movie theater and coming home and playing, with my G.I. Joes, I got to learn how to do storytelling and acting and all that myself. And so there's an incredible sacrifice that goes on with American Warfighter, is why I wanted to tell this story. And what was an inspiration was when I was on the set of Lone Survivor, and I got to be on set. It was you know, as an actor, you don't generally try to do any extra roles or anything like that. You just don't. But I did have an opportunity as a featured extra to go on and work with Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg and Eric Bana and Ben Foster and Emil Hirsch. And it was just an incredible experience. For a couple of weeks, I got to be on set. And one time on set, I was standing next to Marcus Luttrell, and we were in the parking lot in Albuquerque Studios. And there was a huge mountain, a fake mountain, a big green screen. And there was also a helicopter and hydraulics. They were getting ready to shoot one of the scenes for the day. And Marcus and I were having conversation shoulder to shoulder, probably about 100 yards away from where all the action was kind of getting set up for over the next hour and a half. And in our conversation, it just kind of went quiet, and he just went and started staring off. And I just looked over at him, and I felt this incredible weight. And I realized here we are going to be reenacting the moment when him and his team were going to be rescued by, there was 23 other soldiers to come rescue them or help them. And a ground missile took the helicopter out, and they all perished. And here we are just doing another day on set, going to tell another story. It was that inspiration and weight that I felt that I said, that's going to be my story. That's the story I have to write. I drove back home to Los Angeles, and I started writing the story and putting the story together, called American Warfighter. There's a song by David that he also wrote called Leave the Light On, which is incredibly inspirational. And we had an orchestra. We had the El Paso Orchestra by Maestro Phillips there in El Paso. They also did an incredible arrangement for it too. We'll get into that more on other segments, but you can check it out on YouTube. Anyway, with that, anything else? What I'm going to do is bring on our first guest. It's going to be David Robbins. David Robbins is a dear friend of mine. He's been on my very first feature film that I produced and was in. I brought David on. We became friends, and every opportunity I get a chance now, I get to have him come on board and go on this incredible adventure with me. So let's go ahead and meet David. There he is. David, how's it going?
Hey, buddy. It's going great. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family and all of our friends. And thank you for hosting this and bringing me on board.
Sure. Yeah. We've come a long way, haven't we?
Yeah. Let's keep going.
What was the first film that we did? Do you remember?
I'm horrible with the title, but I remember you bringing me on as your boxing coach.
The Deception.
The Deception, correct. And
Yes.
That was our first meeting, and it was bright and early, and it was kind of cold, and we went in there and we got in the ring and we started doing the mitt stuff, and I knew I immediately liked you hunk.
Nah, thanks, man. Well, it was mutual.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Deception was written and directed by our friend Jay Durwachter. Sadly, Jay passed away in the second day of editing, but he had a pulmonary embolism, and he died suddenly. So he never got to see The Deception to fruition. But I'm very excited to share that the RokitPig has The Deception and is going to be showcasing it and championing it in 2021 and bringing it out to the world, because it's a great film, and it's a Jay's story that needs to be told.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another story. We have all these stories. David, let's get to know you. You're also, like myself, not military, but you do come from a military family and background.
Yeah. I'm always asked, hey, were you in the military? Because of the way I act a lot of times. So yeah, all the men in my immediate family served in the military. My father and my uncle were both World War II veterans. My uncle, he was one of the paratroopers that landed in Normandy, off the right path, and he got stuck behind enemy lines, and had to go through a series of adventures to get back to his to friendly forces. My father, he was a 19-year-old staff sergeant, engaged in, well, the bloodiest battle of the European theater, the Battle of the Bulge. He was 101st Airborne, 28th Infantry, with attached to the 110th Regimental Combat Team under Colonel Hurley Fuller. And as we all know, the Company K and Company B, they were overrun by the Germans. It was basically about 27,000 German troops and 216 tanks versus about 5,000 American soldiers dug in. And well, the American forces took a beating. And my father was one of 532 survivors of the 5,000 men. And he wouldn't talk about it much, but he was always one of my biggest heroes. And also my oldest brother, he was with the 19th Air Commando Squadron in Vietnam. Their motto was deeds, not words. And I grew up.
Deeds?
Yeah, deeds, not words.
What does that mean?
Well, it means show, don't tell. Don't talk, do. And, you know, my brother, my oldest brother, Larry Douglas, he was a go-getter. And, you know, a lot of people talk about the Air Force like, you know, it's not the Army or the Marines or the Navy or whatever. But these guys, his job was to land in the jungle with his troops. He was also a staff sergeant, like my father, and dig up a landing strip and then protect it. And they, you know, he wasn't afraid to tell me about some of the engagements that they had with the Viet Cong and how it sometimes went to hand. And he suffered greatly with PTSD. He was one of those guys that we hear about the stories of, you know, a guy waking up in the middle of the night screaming in Vietnamese and strangling his wife. You know, he went through the shit. Pardon my French. But yeah, and so I grew up with those guys, you know, and there were a lot of things that they wouldn't discuss, but there were some things that they would discuss with little old me and my twin brother, Daryl. You know, my youngest brother, Kevin, he was in the Marine Corps. He was part of Desert Shield. He was with the Marine Light Attack Helicopter Group, 39th Marine Aircraft Group, 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing, and you know, he saw some stuff. But I'm more proud of him for some of the stuff that you don't ever hear popularized or talked about too much in the military, and that's rescue efforts. His group was they were pulled from Kuwait in 1991, and they were immediately sent to Bangladesh for Operation Sea Angel, where it was a Category 5 hurricane, and it killed almost 140,000 people. And he was part of the rescue effort. That, you know, we don't hear about these things, and this is true heroism. He and my nephew, Gregory Scott Wilgus, they were both sergeants. They disobeyed their orders from their commanders as Marines, and they took a boat down into a river, and they went and they rescued about 250 civilians there in Bangladesh, and they attached all these makeshift boats and rafts and literally drug them out of the middle of the jungle and rescued them. And these are stories that you never hear about, you know. And my little brother Kevin, he would not, you know, he wouldn't really say anything about it. He's a humble man, but I'm super proud of him for doing that. And you know, he did what he had to do. That's that's being courageous, and he rescued a whole lot of people that might not have survived by disobeying an order. And you know me, I'm the black sheep kind of guy.
You are. Why?
So,
Why do their stories need to be told?
well, without those things being told, then people only see one side of the military, and and lately these last few decades have been kind of getting a bad rep, and for stuff that's, things happen in the military, but it's like life. Things are hard, things are challenging, things you have to develop a will to overcome, and that's part of being in the military. Jerry, we've talked about this. I always wanted to be in the military, and because I grew up in a military household. Both my father and my oldest brother ended up going into law enforcement, but that's a different story. So me and my best friend, when we were 12, 13, we both were going to follow in our father's footsteps. His father was in the Korean War. He was Army, I believe, and his oldest brother was in the Army, and so we were both planning on doing that, and then just I'll be totally honest with our listening and watching audience. One fateful day in July, we had a shooting accident, and I accidentally killed my best friend. And so my military career, as far as that went, was over. And
yeah, I remember. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. What I remember the first time I had known you for many years, actually, David. And I didn't know that about you. There's something that you hadn't, shared with me at any degree, but we had been through a lot together, and we were making American Warfighter, and we had gone through the whole process of making it, finishing it, and doing our premiere. And during our premiere, which was an experience in its own, we were playing up in Tehachapi at a small little theater, and there was 3 theaters sold out, and we're doing a Q&A at the end for the first time. And I think you had like the first question or something like that, and you shared that story, and it just there was a magic. I remember feeling it the way I'm remembering it right now. I remember the way it felt. I remember looking out into the audience and just seeing this energy, and again this weight that was almost lifted when you mentioned this, because when you shared something that was so impactful to your life and changed the course of your life, redirected, I should say. We had so many military veterans that were in the audience as well, and active, and it allowed them to stand up and start to speak and share their stories. And you remember that they from 90 years old, 80, 70 year old, all the different eras, and they started to share their stories, and it was just a magical evening.
I felt like we busted through some barriers by having me stand up there. And I mean, Jerry, that's the first time I've ever told that story to anyone, other than a couple of very close people, family, mainly, and very close friends. We kind of briefed before that, but I felt like it was something that it was time to release. And yeah, you could hear a pin drop when I finished in that packed theater. And and those veterans that were out there, I could feel their commitment to each other and to us as actors wanting to represent them on screen. And those guys, man, they opened up, and after it was all said and done and we were meeting everybody at a meet and greet afterwards, people were coming up to me and and hugging me and shaking my hand, and they started telling me about their own struggles with PTSD and the losses, and it was really a touching, beautiful moment that might not have happened if I hadn't had the courage to share that experience.
I believe that, and that hasn't stopped. We still get reached. American Warfighter went onto Netflix. It's still streaming on some major platforms, and I get messages from around the world. Here's an incredible shot of you and Michael King. This was my favorite scene, one of my favorite scene in the movie. It's beautiful, and your character that I wrote for you for Sonny is is this makes the ultimate sacrifice to bring back an American POW. And this is there's that scene. Can you share a little bit about that moment, and then also sing it for the first time on a big screen?
Man, there were some really good scenes in that film. Bravo, thank you, Jerry, for it was great. First of all, it was great having you call me up out of the blue and say, "Hey, man, you got to be in this movie. I wrote a part for you. I saw you in this role," and so it was my privilege and honor to be able to play Sonny for you. And so that scene, well, it's a big scene, that's the reason why our SEAL team was there, was to rescue those guys. And so, we had faced some enemies to get to there and to rescue them. And so, it wasn't perfect scenario, but, like the U.S. military, one thing you can count on with anybody in the military, and especially in a combat situation, is, man, they are gonna rise to the occasion. I've been doing a lot of studying, of course, for our next big production, but I can tell you from watching and reading just the amount of courage that all of our forces, man, this is the greatest country.
Yeah.
And the military are the 1% of the people that represent this company or this country. We're in good company with anybody who is in any one of our armed forces. But back to that scene. Well, I mean, you get to play the hero. You're rescuing. You're leading someone away from danger, and you're leading them out. And I felt really special being able to have that moment. I mean, any one of the characters on that team could have been put in that position, but you gave it to Sonny side up.
That's right.
Yeah. And and Mike, the character, the guy who played the lieutenant, he's such a consummate actor.
Michael King.
Yeah. Michael King, and he's I love watching his star rise. With his appearances in TV lately.
And he played the entire role blind.
Yeah, he played the entire role blind, and he just did an amazing job. The stresses that we were put in the being in the deserts and the heat, and you made me wear the most of the equipment because I was the radio operator, and I was the oldest guy there. So, hey, thanks. I'm glad we could all do our push-ups and stay in shape for this. But yeah, Michael, man, it was such a treat getting to work with him, because he puts his heart and soul into it, and he did with this lieutenant role. And but I'll tell you, I love that scene. But man, my favorite scene was when you and I got to share some time together. And after the high emotion that we experienced before we leave, and my wife was going to leave me, and etc. Y'all, if you haven't seen American Warfighter, now's the time to put it into your queue.
Yeah, we'll surprise you. Well,
Yeah,
David, let me
it'll surprise you.
let's
Yeah, but
let's bring on.
just so,
Oh, I was gonna say, let's bring on David Beth so we
sure.
can, you've since American Warfighting made a great relationship with David.
Yeah.
David Beth is he's been a producer on a couple of our films now, including our latest one, which David Robbins is also a lead actor in, called Obscura. So this is David Beth. David Beth is also a veteran, and as soon as he pops up here. So Beth, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, Julie. How are you?
Okay, cool. We got Dave Beth here. You see David Robbins?
Yes, of course, thumbs up.
Cool. So Dave Beth lives in a place called Goldfield, Nevada. 6 hours from Los Angeles. It's about 25 miles from a place called Tonopah, where the Clown Motel is at. People might know that, so you kind of get a relationship as far as geography goes. But David Beth, I just want to thank you so much for your support over all these years, coming from the moment that I first met you. I don't know. That's kind of a funny story.
Don't tell that story.
Yeah. It was in the winter time. I was passing through this small little town, and I needed to use the restroom really bad. Everything was closed down. I think it was Sunday, and there was a porta potty in the middle of this ice storm, and I didn't know there was there. But Dave Beth is the one. You were in a radio station, weren't you?
Yeah, Patty and I.
Yeah. And anyway, from that small encounter, we became dear friends. And Dave has now been a producer, an executive producer on American Warfighter, and also Obscura, and his lovely wife Hattie is just an incredible. You guys are an awesome couple. I'm just so grateful. Every time I come to Goldfield or David comes, we all come there. The town greets us with just with open arms. They're fantastic. I have to do a better job at cleaning up a little bit in the community center, so I don't get a spanking every time I get out there. But Dave, you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are, about your military, and then also as far as a creative. Give us an introduction to you.
I joined the Navy at 17 years of age, left high school because it wasn't getting along with me at all. Can you hear me okay? Okay. And I did not want to be in high school, so I joined the Navy and spent a year and a half, discovered air traffic control, and the Navy said, well, you need to go to Vietnam. And I went, no, that's why I joined the Navy. I'm an air traffic controller. I'm supposed to be in the radar room of the tower. They said, you need to go to Vietnam. So I went to Vietnam, served my time, came back, and I loved air traffic control. I was good at it. It was fun and positive. And I said, I'm going to stay for a few more years. So I did 23 years day for day, and then retired out of the U.S. Navy as an air traffic control chief. And exciting, challenging. I never got ulcers from it. I did my job and kept the airplanes apart. Everything was fine and hunky-dory. And after I retired, I had always had an interest in theater, live theater performances. And I got involved with a theater group in Bath, Maine, where I settled again, and started acting, directing, producing, and live theater performances. A couple movies here and there, just little things local people produce. And then I finally met you and decided, yeah, I like movie making too. It's acting, it's directing, it's producing, it's a creative force. It gets in your blood and you have to do it.
You and Patty have been pretty prolific in the town of Goldfield, doing a whole bunch of, you guys, when I also met you is during Dinner with a Ghost, and you guys also do those evenings where you dress up and you kind of do role playing too, right?
Yep. We do that a lot. I started doing murder mystery dinner theater, writing, producing, directing, acting in murder mystery dinner theater for the local folks and adjacent towns. People would drive 50, 60 miles to come and see a murder mystery dinner theater. And we did it all improv. We had no dialogue to learn. We just went in there and BS'd our way through it. Very successful at that. And we keep doing that as much as we possibly can, whenever we can.
So what's incredible about this is that, you wanted to do something that was, something that was not necessarily something you knew about, and you created something where it wasn't available.
That's correct.
With you. It didn't really exist in Goldfield, and it doesn't exist in Goldfield unless you create it, and then you inspire others.
Right.
And so much of what we want to do with satellites, and what I like to do for the people that I meet, either the people that are in my life for a long period of time or short period of time, or just in passing, is to find the inspiration at any given moment. They exist throughout all, every single day, 7 days a week, and the idea is to do what you love, whatever it is. It doesn't have to even be in the arts. If it's wanting to learn how to be an equestrian, or or going to med school, or something. I have friends that surprise me all the time, that all of a sudden, I just had a friend that's going out to be what is she? She's doing something with like soul ultrasounds or something like that, being able to, something like to that field, and just randomly out of nowhere, from being a filmmaker going into that field. So I thought that was pretty commendable. We have to get out of our routines and thinking negative thoughts, and thinking, how difficult things are. We want to think of how possible everything is, because there really are no limits unless we choose to put them on ourselves with our own minds. And, it takes practice. I always I start using this analogy, is that, it's kind of a trick question. I'll tell you ahead of time. There's a picture of Warfighter in Chinese popped up. I'm not sure why, but I think that's a cool poster. It's one of our posters that hasn't really been out there. But yeah, that's random. What I like to say is that when you think about the Olympics, you say everyone is trying very hard to do something and be the best at it in the world. And so everyone competes, all the countries go through all the trials, and eventually, after all the different trial runs, you get to the end, to the last people, and then someone wins the gold medal. And someone has a silver, and someone has a bronze. Well, who's the best? Who won? As far as society goes and what we've created, the person who has the gold medal is the one that, outperformed it, did everything to qualify to be the best on that given moment.
Sure.
But the approach that I like to take now is that every single person that competed and got to even to that point is a winner. Whether you got the bronze or you got ninth place, they all had to rise and practice and to keep trudging and do everything possible to get to that moment. And even the people that even get to that point, there's incredible success in that, and there's no failure. There really isn't a failure. I don't see that, and I choose not to see that in the next half of my life, because I want to see the positive points of everything. And everything is possible. These are all good things. I'm talking all about the positive stuff that we want to do. I would like to know from you, Dave, from learning about, now you also were involved as an actor and a producer on Obscura, which we shot out there recently. What is it like from your experience from coming onto a feature film and seeing all of a sudden, one day there's no one there, then the next day the first production people show up, and then a few more, and then all of a sudden everything's set up, and now you have it's almost like throwing up of a whole bunch of random people that are coming together. What is that experience like for you?
Well, it's quite a bit different than live theater stage performances, in that you cast a crew of people, the actors, your sound people, your lighting people, to do the stage work, and they're tight together for a minimum of 6 weeks for a big production. and you know each other intimately. You know what the other person is capable of and the other person's not capable of, so you adjust. And especially when I direct, that's the fun part of that. But then you come to the movies, like you said, where is everybody? Where are we going? Where are we going next? What are we gonna? What's the next scene? I'm not sure. It doesn't follow the. Well, it probably does, and you know better than I. It follows a pattern, or you're going to do this day, this. But the theater is totally different, and boy, you can't mess up on live stage theater performances. And just to let people that don't know, talking about being creative and having passions, I roast my own coffee, as you well know. I just put up 5 gallons of beer that will take probably a month and a half to be able to consume and drink the beer. I mean, these are passions that, you know, I'm writing a storyline like an old time theater for the radio station, our local radio station. It's called Goldfield Chronicles. And it's the people rule the daytime, the boroughs rule the nighttime here in Goldfield. And it's totally fictitious. And the hardest thing I have, as I told Carl Brownfield, one of our neighbors in the radio station higher up, I said, he asked me to do this, and I said, it's going to take a while because writing dialogue, totally fictitious out of my brain, I'm just making this up. Nothing is really real, except the aliens do come here and help us grow things and, you know, whatnot. And, but Carl thinks it would happen in a couple weeks. You can't write a radio program in a couple weeks. I told him maybe after the first year. We've already had one reading, and we have to decide who's going to be cast as this character and this character, and you know, the various characters. Yeah, fun and passion is what it's all about. You know, I'm an old man now, Jerry. You and David. Well, David's not so young, but I'm the old guy in the crew right now. Yeah.
Well, I always steal your Jordan almonds too. Every time I go there, every time I go to their house, I get to Goldfield. I have to look in the hiding spots first because that's where they keep his Jordan almonds.
I need more almonds. I'm actually out. I just ran out. That's a hint.
We're going to go ahead and introduce our next guest also to join in our forum here. His name is Billy Kerr. He's also military. I'm going to let him introduce himself with all his military, you know, ranks and stuff, because I don't know this lingo so well. But there's Billy right there. Hey, Billy.
Hello, Jerry.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Well, thank you for coming on. It was love at first sight. I remember when you answered the call for helping us out on American Warfighter, and you and I just really hit it off. And, you know, we've been brothers ever since.
Yeah. You were a practical joker from the get-go, and that's my paternal side of the family, so we were on, man.
I'd like to introduce you. So you haven't had the chance to meet or go ahead, raise your hand, David Robbins. David, so you've already met David Robbins. He was one of the soldiers, so it's been a long time probably since you guys interacted.
Yeah.
We were all there in the Situation Room. And then also below, this is David Beth. David Beth is a veteran.
Navy forever, Marine.
Yeah, he was in the Navy. I was in the men's department of the Navy.
That's right.
So Billy, thank you for coming on to Satellites.
Thank you for having me.
You know, you have such a unique background in the military. We've shared lots of stories in the process of me making American Warfighter and learning from testimonials and speaking with different veterans from all different eras with incredible stories, everyone. And you You have a very a unique path that you've crossed, and from your history. And I'd like to share a little. I'd like you to share a little bit about who who is Billy, like right now, and where you are in your life, to whatever degree, and what you did in the military, and then we'll continue on, and the four of us will get into conversation on all this.
Where I'm at in my life right now is I'm done with all that. I went in at 17. I'm from the Midwest. You can hear my accent. We're very patriotic. I thought to go in, do my 4 to 6 years of service, come out, go back home. I found myself loving it. 22 years later, I retired. They made me a diesel mechanic at first, and my first year in, and I looked at that and I thought, man, if I wanted to do this, I'd go back to Oklahoma and make a lot more money doing it. And I went on embassy duty, and then that's where I got into the intelligence, counterintelligence field. I've worked with about every other 3-letter agency there is, been trained by some of them, worked with everything from ground pounder grunts to spec ops guys.
Before you had answered I reached out, looking for some help to make American Warfighter.
Yeah.
You had no experience in anything entertainment?
None whatsoever, and despised it, quite honestly. I mean, I always thought of people, trying to be somebody they're not, and I didn't care for acting. I'm one of those guys, like, we joke around and there's cartoons and stuff. We're the guys that sit back there, and even when we're by ourselves, say, oh, hell no, that would never happen. It ain't like that. But it definitely changed the way I think and the way I look at things.
So you came on board, and your job was to help us kind of create a real life situation.
Yeah.
For a situation. It's called a situation room, or
yeah. They would call it a sit room, or a command post, because most likely that would, in the environment that it was supposed to have been in, it would be like what they call a C command post. That's where the commander, all of your bean counters, and all radio men and all that stuff hang out.
And I remember, and David Robbins remembers this too. We were setting it up. We had this great location. We spent an entire day setting it up. This was in a building with maybe 8 floors, and we were on 1 floor, and there were some vacancies and stuff, and we had the whole place to ourselves, like on a Sunday or something like that. And we spent the day before setting it up, and then the next day we woke up early and getting the last final touches, getting ready to be ready for the day. And the building manager came in and was arguing with our person who said it was okay to film in here, and they had an office there, and we were it was pretty much vacant, the whole floor, but
yeah.
he had a fit, and there was nothing that I could say or do or offer to say that we could stay there and shoot for that half a day. And no one had shown up yet except a couple of us, and there was only a couple. There was like 4 of us maybe, and you, and I didn't. This was my first. I'm directing my first feature film. I've been through producing, but this was a terrible moment for myself as being in this position. And you said, "Don't worry, I got you covered." And we were able to get into another office, but it was in my mind, it was 1% of what we already had. We had this perfect setup. We had flags, and I mean, it was a perfect situation in for the scenario we wanted. But now everything changed. We had to dial down, and you helped us create this. You said, "Hey, this happens all the time." Can you explain to us real life how in real life this situation would occur?
It's the way that, like in the military, You plan everything out in great detail, but there's always gonna be something that changes. And so it was like, okay, we have this great room and all this stuff, and then it flipped in a second, and it's like, okay, we can make this work. I hadn't even seen where we were going yet, but it's like somehow we can, we have the props, everything. Somehow we can make this work. And then when we get into the office, I'm looking around the office. I see this guy's books. I see photographs and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, this is easy. We got this. And it was just like, okay, we could be walking into an embassy somewhere, and this would be the chief of station CIA guy's office. It looked exactly, the way it would look. It's like, we got this down, man.
This was your first day on set of us actually shooting. Yeah. Now, fast forward. I don't even remember how long it took. Over a year. I'm certain it was over a year. Then you finally got to watch American Warfighter at some point, and you got to see this scene. How did it turn out? And you can be honest, like,
no,
how did it?
To me, it was. I mean, it was exactly like it would be if I was sitting in a brief and we were getting ready to go out on mission. I'm usually pretty humble, but I was pretty damn proud of myself for the way the slides and all that stuff turned out. Because I watch a lot of movies and I see slides and stuff. And it's like, no, man, you have the caveats all wrong on this. This is not right, and the way the maps were set up. And I mean, it was great.
Yeah, and Billy didn't. David, I think you know this too. Billy also put together all the slides. He did, based off the information, he helped us to put help us write, and so did one of my other friends helped us write in this scenario as well. But he put the slides together. He did the bullet points, and we timed it up with the script. So that I think actually, Billy, you're actually an actor in that role because you were the one controlling in the situation room as the at the right moments when the actors would be speaking and discussing, you would be moving the slides.
Yeah.
And we on that particular day we had Saeed Faraj and we had Jennifer Marshall, both actors. Saeed was in The Green Zone with Matt Damon, and Jennifer Marshall's been in a lot of stuff as well. She's a true veteran as well, and she's in the series Stranger Things. They both got on to these other incredible roles and stuff. So we were very fortunate to have them. Also in American Warfighter, we had a bunch of other veterans that were on cast and crew, part of our Dragon Slayers team. Billy, can you share a little bit with us a real life experience that you had being in a situation room to where there was, whatever, something else occurred, to where, I don't know, like there's a mission that has to go on and, you're in a position where you have to, give your friends out into some kind of a situation that they might not come back or be hurt.
Yeah. Man, you put me on the spot there. But off the top of my head, I can remember one time in a country we were in, we were hunting war criminals. These guys had been high-ranking officials in the military and had committed genocide amongst other atrocities. Basically, they were just bad people. We had went in a situation room. We kind of knew where this guy, where he was going to be. And so we're standing there and I'm briefing the intel that we have and the assets that we were running at the time. And we're talking a tier 1 force. When we say tier 1, we're talking Delta and we're talking SEAL Team 6. And so I'm standing there and I'm briefing the assets that we have. And at the time, I wasn't under the control of the military. I was under the control of a civilian agency. And then we get done with the brief, and these guys are, I mean, I know these guys, and they're getting ready to go in hot. And the commander of the force pulls me out, and he said, I need to ask you something. He goes, does the agency have control of these assets? The intel we're getting. And I said, I'm going to be quite honest with you, sir. I said, no, they don't. I said, the assets are running them around. I said, they should be controlling the assets are controlling the case, the handler. And he said, that's all he goes, how much, odds are there? I said, there's 50-50 chance he'll be there. And he goes, okay, I can go with that. And then that, it went down.
Now, you were able to when you're in the green room listening to David Robbins and David Beth speak, you could hear them, right?
Yeah.
In your opinion, why? And this is also, I'm saying this also because of our relationship, and you've shared many stories, and we're putting some things together as well. How important is it to you and for your brothers and sisters to have stories told of all different, of magnitude? Some that are inspirational, and the stories that aren't, and the stories of the war, of different atrocities. Like, why is it important that filmmakers come and help, bring these stories to life for you guys? What is it? What's the purpose?
I'll tell you one of the best movies that I can think of, and it was with Mel Gibson and I can't think of his name right now. We were soldiers. At the end of the battle, the newspaper reporter, him and Joe Galloway are standing there together by themselves. And Joe Galloway, who's a small town newspaper reporter from Texas, is like, I don't know how to write this. And he grabs him and he looks at him and he says, you got to tell them what my men did here today. That's important to get across. A lot of times we face in media, we face a lot of negativity. Oh, this guy was a former Marine. He was a sailor. He was this. He did this wrong. You don't hear a lot of time, or, U.S. forces took these hits today. They're being brought up on trial. You don't hear the good stuff. And it's important, I think, that people understand that we do good, that we are there for a purpose. We're not, and when bullets starts flying, when shit hits the fan, politics, patriotism, all that stuff goes out the door, because all you have is each other. And that's one of the most important things. And knowing that, your buddy's got you, you got him, and that, you will die for each other. And then it doesn't hit then, because you're trained on the battlefield that no matter what happens, you keep going. Your mindset has to be, you know what? I have to do this. I have to do that. I have other men I have to think about. But when you come home, it all sinks in and it starts playing back. And that's where like PTSD comes in.
Okay. David, Beth, in your experience, can you I'd like to have you talk a little about PTSD. If, you're in a position where I don't know much about the air traffic controller. You did mention that how important it is, obviously, for you to guide in the planes to come in and off. Did you have PTSD to any degree, or any of your brothers or sisters?
I I didn't have much myself. I have some very vivid memories of an aircraft crashing, not my fault, but a mechanical failure. The aircraft was shot up, especially in Vietnam, and we watched them crash and burn, and people die. And I have those vivid memories. I mean, I don't have nightmares about it. I think some of my friends took it more to heart than I did. I mean, there's nothing I can do. You can't save the airplane, the pilots, or anything. If you do your job in air traffic control, you keep one away from the other, then you've done your job. But I really don't have a whole lot of PTSD about that. No, not at all.
One of the things that I like to touch on in PTSD is that when I decided, when I was standing next to Marcus Luttrell, PTSD was just a word that I knew. I knew a little bit about it, but not much. And although as supportive and compassionate I've always been towards our military, in this process of making Warfighter, I went from maybe 10% to like 1,000%. And I'm very grateful for that. And that's why I'm wanting to put this episode together for Satellites, is to kind of learn and get an idea, so that we have an awareness to this. And PTSD was one of the things that when I started writing American Warfighter, I didn't know a whole bunch about it. And as I started to interview different veterans from different eras, it was just incredible. I started doing research about PTSD, and it was, I couldn't believe that I didn't know more about it. It was a little scary, actually. I was very naive, just not coming from, being in the heart of a military family. So some of the things I did learn is, as PTSD affects so many different individuals differently. There's no way that you treat one that doesn't mean it's going to work for the other. Every scenario is different. They treat PTSD often with drugs, and those drugs start to affect the individuals in different ways. I think Marcus Luttrell mentioned to me at one point that he is taking like 23 pills in order to help with it. It starts with the PTSD, but then you can't sleep, so you need to take sleeping pills. The sleeping pills, they do stuff to your organs or clog you up, and you got to take another. And then you also need to wake up and to revive yourself. It just this endless circle of all these pharmaceuticals, and this drives a lot of veterans into a whole different downward spiral, or it can. And I'm not an expert on this by any means, but when I was with Commander Clay Baxter with the 11th MEU, I got to learn about PTSD, from a woman's perspective, and every woman has different different situations or experiences. And there's one, I forget her name, and I think she's in her 70s. She's retired as well, but she had she had PTSD from some of the way that she was treated just by being in the military. But she served, and I'm not sure exactly how many years. I want to say that she retired military, but it was something that it has affected her entire life. And she's very passionate about it. And some of the other individuals from the 11th MEU that were very supportive to David, Beth, and David Robbins and I in getting it out there. One of the veterans shared a story. They took me to a park, and the 11th MEU was raising funds to put to fix a statue. I think it was an eagle, because one of the wings or the foot were broken. Again, this is a handful of years ago. And they're raising funds for it. And then there was also bricks with all these different military individuals that had died, in service. And we were just out there talking, and he says, "Hey," he looks down at my foot. He said, "You see it by your foot there?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Read that name." And he said, "That was my one of my son's best friends, and he went in sniper school." He said, "Yeah." He just pointed off to the side and said, "About a mile over there is where he would come over to our house and we'd feed him and stuff." And he went in as a sniper, and he died like within a couple of days. and that we were standing on his stone as a memorial. So PTSD is something that we wanted to touch on in American Warfighter, and I don't know, David Robbins, in any way, can you share a little bit about what you experienced dealing with PTSD, what you learned about it, or how it's touched you, or how you view it now?
Well, I mean, my personal experience doesn't come from, military service, but I can tell you that when you have someone that you care about, in my instance, my best friend, and he is dying, and you're doing your best to try and save his life, and it's not going to happen. It puts you in a spiral, and I was in a spiral for 20 plus years. I would wake up hearing that gunshot every night, and unfortunately, I didn't receive any kind of help. I had to take it by the horns myself, and I became a musician, and I struggled for years with alcohol dependency, and the louder that my amp could go, the better. And I joined, I got into music, and that helped. But I found that I was running from things for years, and finally I was in my late 30s, early 40s before I actually found the courage to start talking about it and seek some kind of professional help. And I got into the martial arts, and that helped give me a direction. And I'm going to branch off a little bit here, Jerry, and talk about something a loss that happened currently. As you know, my son, at the time, when I was in music and I was teaching college level music and stuff like that, I met a girl, and we fell in love, and we got pregnant, and then things fell apart, and I went my way and she went hers, and she raised a beautiful son who at 18 dedicated his life to joining the military. And he was the top of his class, 82nd Airborne, going to be a paratrooper. And after 19 years of separation, he reached out to me through Messenger on Facebook, and we started a conversation again. And I was so happy to find out that even though we had been separated for those decades, that he decided to pursue something that I had always wanted to do. And so we were connected for, I don't know, a month. And then the worst thing that could possibly ever happen is getting a phone call from his mother saying that he was gone, that he had died. And I never got a chance to tell him how proud I was of him face to face, and for serving his country, and for those guys are elite, and he was one of the elites. And people always say, if there was one person that you could meet, in heaven, whatever, who would it be? And it'd be, my son. I never got to build a relationship with him, and now he's gone. And but he did it serving his country, and I'm empty about it, but I'm proud. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of his mother. His mother is one of the bravest people I know for having to go through all of it. The case is closed now. We still don't really have the answers that we'd like to have, but one of the things that Caleb would always say, because I've seen video of it, is like the Army, like the paratrooper, airborne, you keep moving forward. And we have to keep moving forward. And, there's going to be losses in our lives. And this was the biggest blow I could ever experience, is losing a child that I never really got to be a father to. And so, having these opportunities, I mean, I'm getting older. It's getting less sustainable for me to play characters in the military, except maybe those old crotchety brass characters. But it's one of the crowning achievements for me as an actor to have gotten to portray somebody like Sonny. And so again, Jerry, I appreciate you, the opportunities, and I think that our service people, men and women, are again the greatest people that this country has produced. And they have sacrificed everything to do what they do. And the more I learn about them, and the more proud of this country and their service. I mean, all the way back to the very beginning, that first rifle shot in that started the revolution that made this country what it is. I hope people don't forget the history that we come from, and learn from it. And hey, he's that good-looking guy. So not to ramble, but it's important, getting back to what you were saying about sharing these stories. Man, there's so many human stories out there that have yet to be told, that our military men and women have gone through. And not only the military men, but the people who have supported them, like their wives and their husbands and the children, and that watch them come home, sometimes a completely different person. And we need to invest into making sure that our soldiers that come home are cared for, young, old. Our veterans, they deserve more, and they deserve better than what they've been getting. So I'll leave it there.
Billy, how have you learned to experience from your experience? What advice can you have just for others that are experiencing incredible loss? What is a way that you cope or haven't been able to cope? I mean, how has it affected you over the years? The good, the bad, the ugly, how?
It helps. You have to, no doubt about it. The only way is to get help, because you will sink yourself into alcohol, substance. That's because, and for years, like me dealing with some of my stuff, I drank and I blamed everybody else for anything, any problems I had, and that's not the way to go about it. And then you realize, you know what, I never really dealt with this. I never coped with it. And then I went into group therapy and one-on-one therapy. And I'll tell you straight out, I walked into an Air Force base and they set me in front of a counselor. And the first thing I did was size her up. I looked at her, what she had on her uniform, and I'm like, she ain't gonna know what I'm talking about, because she's never been in combat. She's never been in a tight situation. And I started talking, and she looked at me and she said, let me tell you something. You're not going to BS me. And then she got down in the gutter with me. And that's how you learn, you learn to cope with it. Because if you don't, you'll just you'll sink yourself into depression. I was never really depressed. But what I would do is I would just drink to forget. I didn't want to remember any of that stuff. And like David was talking about families and stuff, my ex-wife had to deal with that a lot of times. I can remember sitting. I was when I came back from Desert Storm, I had lost somebody that was real close to me. We lived right across from a golf driving range. My ex-wife had to call two of my buddies to come get me because I was literally sitting in the rain on the driving range with a fifth of whiskey, just rain pouring down over me. And who in their right mind does that?
Looking back at that moment, with the knowledge and experience that you have of who you are now, what can you tell? What would you, someone who is experiencing that for the first time, what information can you share to your, you understand? With who you are now.
First of all, reach out to your buddies.
All right.
Because we took care of each other when we were there, and they will be the ones that will be there for you now. And then that can get you on the steps to going to, seek counseling. I was at the time I was a civilian. When I first went to counseling, I'd already retired from the military, but I was working with a special forces guy, and he was the one that helped me along to get into counseling. And even, when I first came in, and even when I left the military, when I first came in, there wasn't such thing as post-traumatic syndrome. That didn't exist. My first experience with that is when I went to my occupational specialty school and getting woke up at 2:00 in the morning with a gunnery sergeant with flak jacket and helmet on in his boxers with a loaded .45 telling us all to get up, that we needed to be ready. We needed to be trained. He was a Vietnam veteran. He had been drinking, and he riled us all up out of bed at 2:00 in the morning and put us online because we needed to be trained. That was my first experience with it in the Marine Corps. The other thing touched on was like females, and I think there's something there specific. They go through other things in the military that has come to light recently. A lot of things. I'm ashamed of some of the things that went on in the Marine Corps that I didn't know about. I was in an all-male occupational specialty. There were things, sexual harassment, sexual abuse. They have to deal with that. Then you send them into combat. And then they have to, a good friend, very dear friend of mine that I helped her get on track. She went through a lot of that, then goes to Iraq. She was not trained as an infantryman. She was not, properly trained like in combat arms. But she's pulling security for a convoy in Iraq. One of the guys had to go to the bathroom. So they stopped the convoy. They 360 do security around them. She's standing there, and all of a sudden, in her peripheral vision, she catches a glimpse of something. She immediately turns and fires. She killed a girl, a child. And now she has to live with that. Because in that second she made a decision, you know, she thought there was a threat. And she, you know, and then later on, she went, you know, when she got pregnant, she swore that God was going to take her child from her because she had for punishment. And that's the type of mindset that goes on. Things that, you know, people every day would not even think about.
One of the things regarding that I learned about PTSD is that when the women were coming back from, you know, from the Middle East, they were having, you know, that would have PTSD. They would there was no facilities available to them because what was happening is that they'd be putting into groups, and there would be, you know, 99% men, and then there'd be a woman in the group, and you know, some of the men would be, you know, they'd close up, not want a woman in the group, and so the woman would have to be removed and to go somewhere else, and she was having to get experience, or, you know, getting some help from someone that was outside of the military, and they weren't included in the same group. So that was something that I learned about also, that that wasn't available to them. I want to say hi to Earl Hayes. He's one of our Rocketeers here at RokitPig, and he's a veteran himself. And he's actually, I don't know if you're still in the ER right now. He had to defend his family last evening, and there was a scuffle, and he has his hand is broken at the moment. So I don't know if he's still in the ER, but I keep seeing him popping up there. So I wanted to give a shout out to him. All right. Well, let's get back into let's kind of start to kind of close on to this, but I'd like to get back into the importance of, you know, we're here in our lives. We're all in different walks of lives, have different goals from here on out. For myself, one of the important things is, as long as I'm doing anything entertainment, it's storytelling. And it's finding those incredible stories, whatever they are, whether they're military based or fantasy based or whatever, is to inspire and to do what I love, what speaks to me. You know, I can put American Warfighter out there. It can be very special to all of us, but, you know, someone might not like it, and that's fine. But you know, I don't want to focus on that stuff. I want to focus on the things that we can do now that we have control over. And I don't even want to even use the word control. I want to use the energy that we're inspired to do. And if you're not doing that in your lives, whatever it is, I encourage everyone to be able to do that. For instance, Dave, Beth, what are some of the things, like you had mentioned that, you know, you are creating coffee now, like our brother Leo Zaza up there in Seattle, who is also doing coffee. We'll have to combine all of us. But what are some of the things now, and where you are in your life, that you're going to create and have fun with? Why have fun? Why is it important to you? What are you doing? Tell us more about that.
Oh, he's muted.
Peaceful. Can you hear me? No?
We can hear you now. Yeah.
Yes? No?
Now,
Okay. Somebody punched my button, I guess. When I sit there and roast coffee, it's fun. It's relaxing. I don't have to think about anything. I read To Kill a Mockingbird, one of my favorite stories and movies of all time, To Kill a Mockingbird. And I just relax, and I have and then I move on to something else. I don't live in the past. I think about the past, but I don't live in the past. Things that happened to me in Vietnam, and I did serve for the U.S. government. I did serve for the U.S. government in Afghanistan and Uzbekistan long after I retired from the Navy, doing private air traffic control work for the U.S. government in those regions. And I thought to myself, what am I doing here? They're trying to kill me. They were shooting at us. They were trying to kill us. Let's try to talk to airplanes here. I'm not trying to kill you, but the terrorists and the environment over there was horrible, absolutely terrible. And I decided after a year's service that I was coming back to the United States and roast coffee and make beer. And that's what I do right now. And I think David Robbins had one of my beers and may have had some coffee from time to time. You did, Jerry, I know. So,
I've had coffee. Great.
Is that cat you do push-ups with?
Yeah, this is Professor Higgins. He's been running around my feet this whole time, and I think he's gonna implode if I don't give him a yum yum or give him some attention.
He just wants some camera time, Jerry.
That's right.
Yeah, really. He's actually got a credit on IMDb now, thanks to Angela.
Like you had said, Jerry, you said a very important thing. It's storytelling. It mimics real life. A lot of the storytelling we do mimics real life. Not exactly, of course, because someone wrote the word, just made this stuff up, but they take those words that they write dialogue for. It's from real life. It's how we interact with each other. It's important. And I am so honored that I got to serve in the military for 23 years. It was an honor and a pleasure to serve this country and serve my fellow Americans. And that's how I feel about it today.
Thank you. And I want to just say again to all our friends and family and everyone that's listening to this is to please, when it comes to veterans, just to have a little bit more compassion or understanding, you go the extra mile. It's not just the military individuals that are, the actual veterans of the active military that are affected. It's the friends and family as well, as we've learned from David and myself, even with the people that I know that are affected. And I want to be, who I am. I want to be the greatest help that I possibly can to everyone. And this is a unique group of individuals that serve our country, first responders. Ricky Sanchez, one of our friends, is a fireman, and I know he knows, he serves with other men and women that are firemen and first responders, and every day they're putting their life out on the line. Also, in general, I've come to realize that PTSD affects everyone. You can have bully if you're bullied as a kid, or involved with bullying. That can that's PTSD there. It goes on to affect you in your life, or any experiences that we have that are just very difficult times, accidents. That's PTSD affects everybody, and we have to be here for each other. So, I don't know, gosh, we could go on forever on this subject. I want to go ahead and show a trailer right now of American Warfighter. So we're going to go ahead and show that right now as an honor to American Warfighter. Was made as a tribute to all our servicemen and women, and brings awareness to PTSD. So let's check that out right here. Bring back some good memories.
ETA. Seconds.
Go! Go!
Hey,
Run!
listen to me, okay? Honey, you're just having a dream.
Daddy, will you please say something for little Hammy?
Live the good life. Bless your soul, Hammy.
Do you think sometimes souls get lost between here and heaven?
I think you need to see a professional.
Here's to Mr. Wittenberg.
Mr. Wittenberg.
To you, Dad.
4 of our Delta operatives went dark after they crossed into Iranian territory.
I don't ever want you to go away and never come back home to me and Mommy.
58 hours ago, a 4-man Delta unit was dropped off in the Farah province on a recon and surveillance mission. We believe that they are utilizing this location in Iran to develop biochemical weapons. It's imperative that we get eyes on the ground down there immediately.
Soon you pass over the Iranian border, you are on your own.
No air assets?
This is not a search and rescue mission.
Clear this. Clear this.
You're the most loyal, toughest sons of bitches I ever met. It is an honor to roll with you.
You're the one that's been watching me my whole life. I'm coming back. I'm not gonna miss this.
But what if something happens that you can't control?
Said the good witch of the north.
Engage targets.
So Dorothy closed her eyes and tapped the heels together.
3.
There is no place like home.
2.
There is no place like home.
1.
There is no place like home.
One is none, two is one. I had your back then. I've got your back now.
What are we running from?
Not we. You.
Who's got your back?
You've got my back.
Nothing has changed.
So we had reached now we had done American Warfighter from the ground up, and we create our own marketing and branding. And Angela, our producer here, I want to thank her as well. She was very prolific in helping us get the word out. And I think now we've reached about 8 million views or so, which is an incredible number. Certainly over a couple of years. And it's also what's helped lead it get onto Netflix and onto the other streaming services as well. And it's opened up many doors for myself and a lot of our other filmmakers and actors, which has led to our movie Arctic, and which has led to our movie Obscura, which we're at right now. We're going to go ahead and show a quick, we have a 1-minute version, and it's going to share the song Leave the Light On. The Leave the Light On is a very impactful song, and it's been when I first we started putting the song together, I could just envision, with Leave the Light On. Thank you, Mr. Higgins. That nobody wants when you leave your comfort and you leave your home, and you don't know you'll ever come back. You want the light to be left on for you, but also translates into children, that get scared or have fear. It's like a night light. They want the light left on for them. Everyone wants that and deserves that. Not everyone gets that. So it is a very deep and heartfelt song. So you're going to get to hear a little bit about it right now. It's by David Paratiaco, again, one of my dear friends who wrote this song, who also wrote the opening song for the credits of Satellites. So if we can go ahead and take a quick look at that. I think it's about a minute long.
I know that I've been gone for a while now. Don't mean that I'll be gone forever. We got a feel in our hearts that we won't be apart much longer. We gotta know in our minds that soon I'll find my way back into your arms. So leave the light on, leave it shining for me, so I can find my way. Leave the light on, leave it shining for me, so I can find my way.
So such a powerful song. Gosh, it brings back so many memories. and I guess that's another whole other episode about music into film and all that too, because it's so impactful. And as a director and writer of this film, it was important to to find the right music. It's something I learned from my father. He introduced me to all the the John Wayne westerns and the old Abbott and Costellos and Edward G. Robinson movies from the old days, and in all these incredible, epic, prolific movies, there's all these big instrumental orchestral pieces, and so I wanted something like that, and I was so grateful to be able to connect with Maestro and Ellipso down there in El Paso, and we're gonna have to share some more of their versions as well at some point on the show when we're covering music. But anyway, with all this said, is there anything else that anyone like to share as we start to close up? David Robbins, for yourself, can you share a little bit about here you are in this this next stage and transition in your life is going forward into whatever it is you're doing. How important is it to you, after everything that you've learned in your life to this point, how important is it for you to feed and do what it makes you happy, and to feed your whatever it is that you need to do?
And in the end, that's all we have. I'm going to go back to Caleb. He's the reason why I went into acting, because I didn't know that I would ever see my son again, and I don't know if that's selfish or whatever, but I wanted to leave something behind for him, and acting seemed like a good avenue. I mean, I'd always wanted to play with acting, but it just never seemed like a feasible reality for me. But man, I try and live fully. I keep my plate loaded, as you know, and the martial arts has been a long-standing a series of achievements for me. I've been to Japan and lived in Japan and trained in the samurai arts, and I maintained some of that training and that mindset, and I still have my music, and I the acting thing is just it's a series of challenges, but I just get better at it the older I get, and continue to do it. I get to teach fitness. I wear a lot of hats, and it keeps me full. I just learned how to ride a motorcycle and bought a really nice motorcycle. Thanks, Jerry, for being some of that inspiration for that. And man, you have to you kind of have to be the light and move forward and show people that there's a whole big world out there for us to see and experience, and there's a lot of joy and happiness in giving back to others, and letting them see you grow, and be happy. Be happy.
Sunny side up, just like American Warfighter. Yep. That's a little thing that David and I, ever since that sunny side, you came up with that, didn't you? That wasn't in the script.
Sure.
I think you came up with that, like, in the spot. We keep showing this picture of you. You're so cool, man. Us with our $10 million budget.
Right.
Billy Kerr. Here you are, brother. You and I had some. We give ourselves. I can't say like 10 of the different ways that we say hi to each other. We call, hey. I don't go, hey Billy, how's it going, brother?
Yeah.
We say different things to each other, and there's a lot of profanity and fun in there. I don't want to really say that here, but
no, come on.
Man, can you share a little bit of our experience in the elevator? You always share that, and it's always so fun to hear it. I love hearing that from you.
Man, Like I said earlier, I never was, around Hollywood, people always kind of thought they were big put on and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go meet this guy, like consult on how you do military things, da da da. And I meet you, and then we get in the elevator, and I'm standing there, and we're like, like everybody is in an elevator. You're sitting there, you just stare at the damn buttons or whatever. And all of a sudden I feel something on my shoulder, and I just like that. And I turned and I looked, and it flicked off, and you had put that roach on me. And I was like, man, it'll take more than that to, get me. Yeah. But what about when we went on the roof, Jerry? Do you remember what happened?
Oh my!
And the pigeons flew out.
The what?
The pigeons.
I didn't scream.
And all those pigeons just like went whoosh, like that.
Yeah, What about it? You're not gonna say I screamed or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I was scaring the pigeons so they would fly away and get off of our set.
With a fake roach.
So Billy,
I have this at work to scare people with.
Nice. As far as here you are. You're a veteran. You've been through all these years. You've experienced quite a bit. In your most humble self, and all the walls down, and is sharing with all the other whoever's going to listen to this, and our friends or family. What's some inspiration and enlightenment you can share with them about what it's I don't know, from Billy. Let's hear from you. What's important to you to share to everyone.
I think one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and for others is if you stay positive and you circle yourself with positive people, you cut the naysayers out. And sometimes it's going to be very hard to do that. But positivity breeds positivity. And you need to surround yourself with that. And that's the way you get to. I wake up in the morning asking myself, okay, who am I going to make smile today? And if I make you laugh, even better. And if you walk out with that attitude, sometimes even just saying hello to someone, it makes them smile, and you're like, yeah, we got it, man. And that's the type of attitude you have to, no matter what's happened in your life, that's past, that's gone. It'll always be there, but you gotta, like David said, you gotta move forward. And that's, and move forward with positivity and surround yourself with people that are that way.
Yeah, I couldn't say that any better. Yeah. So I want to thank the three of you for our unique and just fun friendships that we have and that we've built, these great relationships. Please call me at any time, 24/7. You guys already know that, and sometimes we do that for each other and stuff. I remember at the beginning of COVID, David and I were creating workouts, for ourselves and for others to join in to help us be able to just, since the gyms are all closed, like what we do, we just build stuff. I want to encourage everyone to build stuff with each other, build and create. Don't be scared. Or if you are scared, acknowledge that and then go do it. Make things happen. It's time to make things happen now. It took me a long time to really understand how powerful I was, and I didn't give myself enough credit over all the years. And I was very quick to give it to other people and allow other people to direct or facilitate how incredible I could be or how much I could create. And there was always a ceiling or cap, and all learning experience. So I needed all that. But now, it's motivated me so much to the point for it's almost impossible for me to not stand up for myself or for other people in being able to express themselves, whatever's true or dear to them, and help them move forward and get, whatever it is in their life, whatever their story is. We're all different. We're all different colors. We're all different genders. We're all, everything. And it's, for who I am, I have to support, support everybody. And we're all different. We're all the same when it comes down to it in so many different ways. And where we're different. It's okay to not agree. Like you said, Billy, the naysayers, those people, just try to, they're always going to be there. Recognize it when they are, and just don't give it so much attention. Those, I don't know, just pivot away from it, or just don't let it drag you down.
The best answer is, tell me how you're going to change it.
Right.
Because they have, and then they're quiet. How would you do this better? How are you going to change this?
Right. And for those that are our supports, and those people that you said, surround yourself around the people that love and make you happy and all that stuff. It's so true. Major changes in my life as far as, focusing on these cardinal directions are fun and love and friendship and joy. Fun, love, happiness, and joy, and these other positive elements. It's just if I'm going in directions and I'm not feeling that, at least I'm aware of it. Instead of letting things drag on for days or weeks or months or years, they're down to hours or minutes or even seconds, because we're here for a little bit of time. Let's enjoy each other. Let's be present with each other where we're at, and there is no ceiling. And so, from the RokitPig family, I also want to thank Angela Joseph for putting on a great show with satellites. I want to thank Expansion. Very excited to see and share where our marketing and branding and public relations. Me, I had a call. Yeah, I had a call coming in. So, anyway. We're going to have some big announcements coming up really soon. David Robbins and I, we're working on a adaptation of a bestseller that we'll be doing an episode on as well pretty soon. We have a screenplay that's adapting. It's coming along very nicely. We're going to be releasing our next arm of RokitPig, which is called Helium 3. Helium 3 is the music side and version of everything that we've done so far with Fireborn Studios and in RokitPig with production. We are doing it now with music and audibles, with our audible books, our music and our creation. And we're going to be working with lots of different talent. And so anyone out there that is with instruments or music inclined that want to work with us, please reach out. We are going to be putting out the word as well, and we've already started that process and creating some awesome stuff. I want to thank Zach Touchon and Aubrey Trujillo for coming on with RokitPig and doing that, and also Katerina Touchon as well. I need to say that. But anyway, with everything said, thank you so much for coming on. If any can do any dollars or whatever towards this helps kind of give back to our guests with some nice some thank you gifts. It goes back to some of our hardworking producers, and also with each of our productions, we give back to different charities. And so and we'll be mentioning those, like Obscura is giving to the Silver Paws. And they take a rescue animal and they put them through training and give them a harness, and they get to here's an example. This is actually Z. Z is a service dog. This is not part of the Silver Paws, but Z is Mike McKee, one of our veterans who is working with us on Obscura, and much admiration to Mike McKee, and also John Kirkellis, who Mike also made introductions with us. Wow, what a beautiful shot there! Oh my God. Z is wow. That's prolific. I haven't seen that one before. Wow. Anyway, you know what? We come in all shapes and sizes. We have 4 legs, and we all have this. We all have big hearts and all that. So, thank you to everyone. You guys take care, and we'll see you on the flip side. And let's keep moving forward. Right? Keep moving forward.
Sunny side up.
Cool. All right.
Oh.
See you guys.
I know that I've been gone for a while now. Don't mean that I'll be gone forever. And you can't give up on me. And you can't lose hope. You got a feel in your heart that we won't be apart much longer. You gotta know in your mind that soon I'll find my way back into your arms. So leave the light on, leave it shining for me, so I can find my way. Leave the light on, leave it shining for me, so I can find my way home. So I can find my way home. I know that it's hard being lonely, but remember, I am lonely too. But I can't give up on you, and I can't lose hope. We got a feel in our hearts that we won't be apart much longer. We gotta know in our minds that soon I'll find my way back into your arms. So leave the light on, leave it shining for me, so I can find my way. Leave the light on, leave it shining for me, so I can find my way home. So I can find my way home. Yeah, leave the light on, leave it shining for me, so I can find my way. Leave the light on, leave it shining for me, so I can find my way home. So I can find my way home. I found my way. I found my way. I found my way. Found my way. Found my way. I found my way. Found my way. I found my way. Leave the light on, leave it shining for me, so I can find my way.